So, hello friends, welcome back to this series on MCQs, multiple choice questions from plant physiology portion of your botany paper. And today's talk about discussion is regarding photoperiodism and vernalization. That is the part of physiology of flowering. Physiology of flowering, the process of flower formation. And you know, it's not a simple process of blooming of a flower bud into flower, but it is the process. It's a quite complex process and mainly determined by two external factors, that is the light, sunlight, and the temperature, especially the low temperature cold treatment. And when the flowering is controlled by the external factor called as the light, the process is called as photoperiodism. And when the temperature, the low temperature is the factor which controls the process of flowering in some plants, then the process is called as the physiological phenomenon is known as vernalization. So that we are going to discuss with the help of some multiple choice questions. Okay, we'll begin with the first question. The physiological response of plants to the relative lengths of day and night in terms of flowering is called as. So we know these relative lengths of day and night. This is a stimulus. This is external stimulus. This is external or exogenous environmental factor. And to this stimulus, plants respond. And this response is physiological response in terms of flowering. So when this is the physiological response to this critical length of day and night or relative lengths of day and night in terms of flowering, then the process you have studied, it is called as photoperiodism. So it is a definition part of photoperiodism. Option B is the right answer. The phenomenon of photoperiodism was discovered by, so name of the scientists are given, and you are more familiar with these two scientists, Garner and Allard. In 1920, they discovered the process of photoperiodism, the importance of photoperiodism in terms of flowering in case of your Biloxi variety of soybean and the mutant variety of tobacco called as Maryland mammoth. They were working with these two plants and they found that these plants require the critical period less than critical, the light period less than critical, and therefore accordingly they called them as short day plants, SDP, and accordingly they classified all plants into SDP, LDP, and DNP, short day plants, long day plants, and day neutral plants that you have studied. So here the answer is option C, Garner and Allard. Next question, Garner and Allard in 1920 observed photoperiodism for the first time in mutant variety of which plant? So here you see the options. So here option C is the right one, tobacco, mutant variety of tobacco called as Maryland mammoth. Or if there is no tobacco in the option, if there is soybean, then that will be the right answer because they also studied Biloxi variety of soybean. So here answer is C, tobacco. Next one, SDP, short day plants, will not produce flowers if you have studied these plants require short day and long night, and that long night is important in these plants because it should be uninterrupted, unhindered. If the long night is interrupted by even a brief flash of light, and usually it is red light of wavelength of 660 nanometer, then in that case, if the long night is interrupted by a brief flash of red light in case of short day plant, then flowering will not take place. The plants will remain in a vegetative state. So here the answer is B. Option B is the right answer. In which of the following conditions, which is provided in long night, short day plants will remain in a vegetative state? Just now we studied that. If the long night of short day plant is interrupted by a red light, then they will remain vegetative. They will not produce flower. But if this red light is replaced, or if it is followed by a brief exposure to the far red light, that is the wavelength of light wavelength of 730 nanometer, then they will produce flower. If it is followed by red light, they will again remain vegetative. If the red light is followed by far red light, then they will produce flower. So the last exposure is important. If it is a red light here in case of A and As you can see, in case of A and C, the last exposure is red lights. So here they will remain in a vegetative state. Otherwise, in case of B and D, they will produce flowers. So here answer will be A and C. That is, C is the right answer. Okay. Which of the following is a typical short day plant? So you have to be known with the examples of SDP, LDP, DNP. So here, typical short day plant is called as xanthium. Xanthium is a typical short day plant. Wheat, barley, henbane, these are long day plants. Usually cereals like wheat, oat, rye, barley, these are long day plants. Whereas maize is a day neutral plant. Rice and sugarcane, these are short day plants. So here, xanthium is a typical short day plant, whereas wheat, barley, and henbane is Hyoscyamus niger, medicinal plant. Actually, it is a poisonous plant. It acts as a poisonous plant when used in larger concentration, but can act as a medicinal plant when it is used in smaller concentration. So all these plants, wheat, barley, henbane, these are the examples of LDP, long day plants. Xanthium is the example of a typical short day plant. Xanthium is called as a typical short day plant because it requires only one photoinductive cycle. And what is photoinductive cycle? If specific plant gets proper photoperiod, what it requires. If it is SDP, it requires short day period. If it is LDP, it requires long day period. So that typical photoperiod, once it is given, then that effect will be carried on forward. So that carried on, or that persistent effect is called as photoperiodic induction. And this photoperiodic induction in a 24-hour cycle constitute one cycle. So xanthium plant requires only one photoinductive cycle. It is not part of your syllabus, but you just remember here why it is called as a typical short day plant, because it requires only one photoinductive cycle. If that photoinductive cycle is given to xanthium plant, and if it is brought to long day conditions, even in those conditions, the plant continue producing flowering. So that's why it is called as a typical short day plant. So here the answer is C, xanthium. Next question, which of the following is not is asked, not short day plant. Which of the following is not short day plant? So you see here, sugar beet is not a short day plant. Sugar beet is a long day plant. Sugar cane is a short day plant. So here answer is D, sugar beet. It is not a short day plant. It is a long day plant. Whereas the rest of these, that is chrysanthemum, cosmos, and soybean, these are short day plants. So here the correct answer is D, option D is the right answer. Which of the following is not? Again, not is asked. Not a long day plant. So you see the list. So here wheat, radish, lettuce, spinach, these are all examples of long day plants. Just now we studied that xanthium is example of short day plant. Xanthium is a typical short day plant. So it is not asked. So which is not a long day plant? So xanthium is not a long day plant. C is the right answer. Which of the following is not a day neutral plant? So see the options. So after seeing options, you will be sure that tobacco is not a day neutral plant. It is a short day plant, because Maryland variety of tobacco was worked out by Garner and Allard, and they told that this is a short day plant. So sunflower, cucumber, and tomato, these are examples of day neutral plants. So here answer will be C. It is not a day neutral plant. Which of the following is a long night plant? So you also know that long night plants are also called as short day plants. So indirect question is here. So direct question is, which of the following is a short day plant? So just now I told you that sugarcane is a short day plant. Sugarcane is short day. Sugar beet is long day plant. And these rest of the plants, pea, bean, roses, these are day neutral plants. So here answer is B, sugarcane. Next one. The photoperiodic stimulus is perceived by the site which receives the photoperiodic stimulus for producing flowers is the leaves. B is the right answer. The pigment or proteinaceous pigment that exists in the two forms, red form and far red, which are interconvertible form, and that pigment is called as, you have studied that this is called as phytochrome, which exist in red form and far red form. Red form and far red form, which are interconvertible. C is the right answer. The phytochrome red form of phytochrome absorbs wavelength of which light? It absorbs wavelength of light at, you have studied, phytochrome red absorbs 660 nanometer light and gets converted into phytochrome far red, whereas phytochrome far red form absorbs 730 nanometer of wavelength light and it is again converted into phytochrome red. You have studied that phytochrome red is converted into phytochrome far red when it absorbs 660 nanometer wavelength light. So here answer is B. Okay. Which one of the following statements is true about the phytochrome? So you have studied that during daytime what happens? The phytochrome far red form of this pigment is accumulated in the plant, which inhibits flowering in SDP but stimulates in LDP. This is right. Phytochrome far red form stimulates flowering in LDP and it inhibits flowering in SDP. And during critical dark period, what happens in SDP? Phytochrome far red form gradually changes into phytochrome red form, resulting in flowering. So throughout the night period, this PFR is converted into PR form and therefore it is responsible for producing flowering in SDP. This is also right. And you have studied this. The brief exposure with red light, 660 nanometer light, converts PR form again into PFR. So PR is converted into PFR when it absorbs red light and therefore it inhibits flowering in SDP. So this is also right. So you see this last sentence, the interruption of dark period by red light inhibits flowering in LDP. This is not true. This is false because the interruption of dark period by red light inhibits flowering in not LDP but in SDP. So D is the right answer here. Okay, next. The molecular weight of phytochrome, you have studied this protein pigment. It is about 250 kilodalton. It consists of two polypeptides of 125 kilodalton. So D is the right answer. Which one of the following hypothetical hormones is supposed to be responsible for flowering in a plant if it has received proper photoperiodic treatment? When plant gets proper photoperiodic treatment, which hormone, hypothetical hormone, is supposed to be formed that is responsible for producing flowering? And that you have studied, this hormone is called as florigen. C is the right answer. The gibberellic acid GA3 treatment induces flowering in which category of plants? So gibberellic acid treatment induces flowering in LDP, long day plants, under short day conditions. So long day plants require long day conditions to produce flowers. But if long day conditions are not available, the plant is growing in short day conditions. In that case, if we apply gibberellic acid, then those plants will produce flowers even under short day conditions. So A is the right answer. In which of the following plants usually the flowering is inhibited by giving a flash of light during long nights? So you know flowering is inhibited if we give a flash of light, red light, 660 nanometer light during long nights, and these plants are called as SDP, short day plants. So see here examples, which are the short day plants. So sugarcane is example of short day plant. Sugar beet, wheat and spinach, these are examples of long day plants. So in case of sugarcane, flowering is inhibited if we apply or if we provide flash of light during long nights. So here these plants will remain in a vegetative state, and economically vegetative stage is more important in case of sugarcane. Not flowering is not important. So this is a usual practice. Farmers are practicing this to give flash of light during long nights in case of sugarcane plant, so that we have more vegetative yield. So here answer is A, sugarcane, which is a short day plant. Next one. Which of the following are the applications of photoperiodism? So you see vegetative growth or flowering, what stage we want from plant as per our desire or as per our wish. If we understand the photoperiodism phenomenon is in that particular plant, then we can get vegetative stage of plant or flowering of plant at our desire. So that is the application. Flowers can be obtained out of season, yes, of course. And there is a practical importance in hybridization experiments because that hypothetical hormone, florigen, is supposed to be traveling from one plant to other through the grafts. So of course there is increase in yield. So all of these are the practical applications of this phenomenon called as photoperiodism. So D is the right answer. Okay. When the physiological response to the external stimulus is given by plant, not immediately, but at later stages of life, then this phenomenon is called as, so this phenomenon is known as physiological preconditioning or after effect. So when there is external stimulus, we give immediate response. But here in this case, plants, when they get external stimulus, they do not give immediate response, but that physiological response is given at later stages of the life cycle. Okay, so this is called as physiological preconditioning or after effect. And photoperiodism as well as vernalization, both are the examples of physiological preconditioning in plants or after effect. So A is the right answer. The low temperature treatment that lowers the period between sowing and flowering in plants is called as, you have studied this. This is called as vernalization. Vernalization. B is the right answer. Okay, next one. The term, in the term vernalization, the vernal means what? Vernalization means formation, but vernal means what? In this term, vernalization, there are different seasons, spring, summer, autumn. You know, there are only two seasons in the year, summer season and winter season. And before summer, there is mild summer, that is called as spring season. And before winter, there is mild winter and it's called as autumn. So in our, you can say there are four seasons. There is no season like monsoon. So here in the term vernalization, the vernal means spring. Vernal means spring. Vernalization means spring formation. This is because the winter varieties are converted into spring varieties. Winter varieties can behave like spring varieties if they are given the low temperature treatment, for if vernalization treatment is given. So that is why the term vernalization refers to spring formation. So here in this case, vernal means the spring. A is the right answer. The term vernalization, also called as yarovization or jarovization, it's a Russian word, was coined by scientist. Which scientist? So the scientist name is Lysenko, a Russian scientist, coined the term vernalization, spring formation. C is the right answer. The site of perception of stimulus of vernalization. In case of biennials, that the plants which complete their life cycle in 2 years. In the first year, they remain vegetative. In the second year of their life cycle, they enter a reproductive phase. They start producing flowers, fruits, and seeds, and then they die. Such plants are called as biennials. In perennials plant, they remain alive for many years. So in case of biennials and perennials, the site of perception of the stimulus for vernalization is what? So here answer is, yes, okay, it is given shoot apex. Shoot apex is the right answer because shoot apex consists of meristematic cells, and vernalization treatment is perceived mostly by the dividing cells, meristematic cells. In case of biennials and perennials, by shoot apex, and in case of annuals, by your seed or the embryo, which are consisting of dividing cells. So A is the right answer here. The site of perception is shoot apex in case of vernalization, whereas in case of photoperiodism, the site of perception of stimulus is leaves that you have studied. Which one of the following hormones can substitute vernalization treatment in the biennial plants like henbane, Hyoscyamus niger? So here you have studied that gibberellins are used to substitute vernalization treatment in biennial plants. And it is found that those plants which require vernalization treatment, after they get vernalization treatment, they behave as LDP, long day plants. So here answer is B, gibberellins. Which one of the following hypothetical hormone, again, is supposed to be responsible for flowering in plant that has received proper vernalization treatment? Some plants, besides the proper photoperiodic treatment, require vernalization treatment also. So such a plants, once get vernalization treatment, then they will produce a hypothetical hormone, and that hormone is called as what? So that is the question. So that hormone which is formed after vernalization treatment is a hypothetical hormone. It is supposed to be vernalin, responsible for flowering in these plants. D is the right answer. Okay. Which one of the following is not a typical winter cereal or winter annual? You have studied in case of vernalization, there are some cereals which are having two varieties, spring varieties and winter varieties. So in those plants, scientists have tried to convert winter varieties into spring varieties by vernalization, so that a very cold winter, severe winter can be resisted. It can be avoided. So here the options are given. Which one require? Which one is not a typical winter cereal or winter annual requiring vernalization? So answer is maize. Wheat, barley, rye all require vernalization treatment. They show winter and spring varieties. Maize doesn't require vernalization. Maize is a day neutral plant. Okay, D is the right answer. Which one of the following is not a biennial plant requiring vernalization treatment? So you know biennial plants also require vernalization treatment, because biennials they complete their life cycle in 2 years, because they have to pass through the winter. And if we provide that low temperature requirement, cold treatment, then they can become annual. So here, which one of the following is not a biennial plant is the question that require vernalization. So sugarcane is the answer. Sugar beet, cabbage, and carrot, these are biennial plants. Sugarcane is not a biennial plant. So D is the right answer. Okay. Which of the following are applications of vernalization? Just like photoperiodism, vernalization is also having applications. So it shortens the vegetative growth period, early flowering, right? That is right. Flowers can be obtained out of season. It is also right. It increases resistance to cold as well as to the fungal diseases. And vernalization treatment can escape plant from the harsh environmental conditions like severe winter. And that's why this phenomenon is, it was discovered by Russian scientist Lysenko, because in country like Russia, the winter is very severe, and especially in Siberia, severe winter is there. And therefore, to avoid that, they discovered and practice, and they are still practicing vernalization. So all of these are the applications of vernalization. D is the right answer. The vernalized plants can be de-vernalized by which treatment? Low intensity, high intensity of light, low temperature treatment, or high temperature treatment. So we know vernalization means low temperature treatment. If low temperature treatment is given to the plants are said to be vernalized. But if that treatment is immediately followed by high temperature treatment, then these plants are said to be de-vernalized. So here the answer is high temperature treatment. D is the right answer. Okay. So these are some of the references, as usual, reference book and some of the websites. And yes, of course, this is a channel, NR Service Botany channel. You can subscribe this so that you will get immediately notified, and click the bell icon for that immediate notifications if you like the video. Okay. Then thank you very much for kindly listening to this lecture also. So we'll meet again for one more topic from this portion of plant physiology, and that is transpiration. Till then, bye. Thank you. Thank you.